Hey y'all, and welcome back. Welcome if you're new. I'm Tiffany. This is our small town life, and this is our small town homestead. Today I thought I would take a few minutes and talk to you about the chicken tractor that we just built that we put our meat birds out here in. They are 5 weeks old, and we have turkeys, and they are officially outside on the grass in the chicken tractor, and we're going to talk about that today. And I wanted to share it with you because I want to share with you how we did it, how I built this, but also talk to you about some things that when I build another one that I'll do differently. This is the first time I'd ever done this, and I've learned a lot from it. I'm happy with what we have, very happy with it, but there are a few things that I would do different, and I wanted to be sure to share that with y'all. So I'm going to walk you around the chicken tractor, talk to you about how we built it, the materials that we used, our thought process behind it, and I also have some clips from when we were building it because I think that's really fun to see those clips. So I'll be sure to include those as we're talking about different things. So let's head over to the chicken tractor and I'll start kind of walking you around it and talking to you about it. So here is our chicken tractor. And we'll just start with the size and the material. So I decided to use PVC for a couple of reasons, mostly so that it would be lighter weight and easier for me to move. And it is pretty easy for me to move. I also thought that it might save me money, but honestly, after I bought all of the T's and the elbows and the PVC and all the things, I feel like I don't know that I necessarily saved money by going with PVC. It was also pretty easy for me to work with. I used a tool to cut the PVC, and then other than that, I just glued things together with PVC cement and put a few screws and washers in it to hold the chicken wire and the tin on. I used a 1.5 inch PVC. I was originally going to go with a 2 inch, and then when I got there and started looking around, the kids and I loaded up in the truck and went to Lowe's. And when we got there and started looking around and was looking at pricing and looking at the size of the PVC, I thought that this 1.5 inch would be just as good as the 2 inch and save me a little bit of money. This is an 8 by 8 by 2 chicken tractor. Bought 10-foot pieces of PVC and cut 2 foot off of them. So that's where my supports came for the height. I feel like this is a really good size. We currently have 29 birds in there. We have our turkeys as well as some of our Lockenfelders that will be, they're not going to be meat birds. They'll be laying hens, and I think we have a couple of roosters in there. But we got them all at the same time, so they're all the same size, and so they're all in here together for right now. Eventually, these white Lockenfelders will come out of here, and it will just be the turkeys. And I feel like this could comfortably, there's 29 birds in here right now, and I feel like this could comfortably hold probably 10 more even when they're full grown. A lot of people say 1 foot per bird, 1 square foot per bird. That would be 64 birds in here. I think that would be a little crowded. 30 to 40 is where I would feel most comfortable, but that's kind of personal preference. The old saying, measure twice, cut once. That's a saying for a reason. Like I was talking about, I did a lot of research and I did a lot of drawing because I'm a very visual learner and I wanted to be able to see. I wanted to be able to see the design. So I went through several pieces of paper drawing this out and thinking about what I thought would be best. And my original intentions and in my plans, this support here was closer to the edge. So it's currently 2 feet in and I had them at 1. And doing that, I didn't really think that I would have to put a support on this side because these would be closer to the corners. Well, I started cutting and I was so confident in what I was doing. Right here across the top, we have a piece that goes all the way across, and we used this to screw our tin into. And when I started cutting, I split the top and the bottom, thinking for some reason that I would have one of these going across the bottom as well. Once I did that, I had to kind of step back and rethink where my supports were going to go or how I was going to lay this out, or I was just going to have to go buy more PVC. And I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to use what I had. And so I reconfigured my pieces that I had cut and used those 2-foot pieces that I had some extra 2-foot pieces where I had cut my 10-foot pieces, and I just kind of reconfigured things and put my supports 2 feet in, not really thinking that that would make that big of a difference. But if I do this again, these supports will be a little bit closer to the corners. My corners want to sag a little, and then I ended up putting in a support on the other sides, and I put it in the middle. I put one on each side in the middle. Would not do that again. When I go to move it, sometimes this right here wants to bow out just because I'm putting so much pressure on it when I'm sliding it. This really needs to be one solid piece here. Would not put a T right in the center, and I would do my supports closer to the corners. We wrapped the outside in chicken wire, and when I picked up this chicken wire, I thought, oh, my birds are plenty big enough. They're not going to try to get out of that. They're too big to get out of it. Originally, I had some of this smaller chicken wire. We used this when we made our brooders, and I was going to get this again to wrap my sides, and I would get this smaller chicken wire. I bought this bigger thinking, oh, they can't get out of it. They're too big. And the Turkins are, but the Lockenfelders are still small enough that they can push through on the corners. So when I get done with this video, I'm actually going to take some extra chicken wire and just wrap the corners and secure it with a little bit of wire, because in the corners, these can still push themselves out. When they get out, they just won't right back in. We actually had one get out this morning, and it was just walking around the tractor wanting back in. But I don't want them to get out, so I'm gonna add a little extra chicken wire, and the next time that I make one of these, I will use a smaller chicken wire. To secure the chicken wire, we used screws with these larger washers so that it would catch the wire and hold it on here. And then we also went back in a few spots where we felt like it needed a little extra security and added some zip ties, or took some wire like we did down here on the bottom and tied it on and secured it a little bit tighter. For the top, we used some pieces of tin that we had and just screwed it on. My original intentions, I went back and forth on whether I was going to cover the whole thing in tin, whether I was going to leave some that was chicken wire to let a little extra light in. And we started with half and half. So this chicken wire actually runs to about halfway. And then because the Turkins have so much bare skin on them, we decided that they needed just a little bit more cover. So we added this extra piece of tin. And this seems to be working well. I don't think you could go wrong either way. As long as there is some cover, I would say at least half of it covered, they can get in the shade. But I find them trying to find the sun here and there throughout the day, and honestly, it just changes where the sun is at during the day. I would just make sure that you have a spot where it is covered so that they can get out of the rain and the weather, and so that they can find some shade. Honestly, we probably could have covered all of it. It's mostly just going to be, what materials do you have? Because I'm a big advocate for finding things and using things that you have. If there was one thing that in my mind I just could not figure out, it was a door. I could not figure out what I wanted to do to be able to get into this, to do their food and water. And so ultimately what we decided to do, one of our pieces of tin, we had a short piece, we had two short pieces. So we screwed one in over here, and then this piece is just loose on the top. I have the bricks and stuff sitting on it for right now, but I'm going to add a hinge down here so that I can just flip this open. For now though, this is working out just fine. All I do is sit these off of here and slide it over, and I can do what I need to do with their food and water. But just so you can see, we have this piece supported on top of the side pieces of tin so that I can screw a hinge on here and here, and then screw it to this piece and then just flip it open. The only other thing I need to do is add a rope to it so that I can pull it. I have just been getting under the edge of the PVC and sliding it, and that's been working out fine. We're moving these birds every other day right now, but before long they'll be big enough that they need to be moved every day. They are incredibly happy, and I'm very happy with this chicken tractor. I wanted to share it with you to hopefully give you some ideas, to talk to you about the things that I really love. The PVC being lightweight, the ease of putting it together, the way my door works, being able to get in and out and handle their food and water, the amount of space that these birds have now, and then also talk to you about some of those things like putting the supports closer to the corners, using a smaller chicken wire, and just kind of sharing my experience with you and letting you learn and get some ideas of your own. I'm going to go ahead and close this video out, and I'm going to come in and, like I said, add just a little extra layer of chicken wire to my corners, because that's where these little guys are trying to get out. The Turkins can't fit through, but these Lockenfelders, they can still push their way through the corner. So we're just going to add a little extra security there. All I'm going to do is take just probably a foot of chicken wire and either zip tie it or take some wire and tie it in a couple spots around the corners and just do an extra piece right here, because that's where they're pushing through. They're coming to the corners and pushing their way out. And before long, everyone will be big enough that that's not an issue. And like I said, these little guys, so we've got that one right there, I believe is a rooster, and this one's a rooster, and then the other three are pullets. Those are little girls, and they will be in a different coop before long. That's going to be all for this one. Thanks for spending a little time with me today, taking a look at this chicken tractor. If you're not already subscribed, if you happen to be new around here, we would really appreciate it if you'd hit that red subscribe button and join our crew. We do the homesteading, homemaking, and homeschooling things around here. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, we'd love to have you stick around, subscribe, join us. We recently moved out here on this acre of land that we're turning into our own 1 acre homestead. We put a double wide mobile home out here, and we're just really embracing this lifestyle, learning a lot along the way, sharing our experiences with you, and we'd love to have you join us. We love you, we appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning. Do you want a treat?